It's the day after Easter in Omaha, Nebraska, a prairie metropolis of almost 1 million.
When people think of Omaha, they probably think of cornfields and a lot of space, but there's more that meets the eye.
It's one of the 50 largest cities in the United States.
We're not as big as Kansas City, but we still have that Midwest love.
It's a good, safe place to raise kids.
But this Monday morning, the mother of Omaha resident Kamisha Hollis fears for her child's safety.
Every morning, like around 6 o'clock, we call each other. I was getting ready for work, and she was getting the kids ready for school and getting herself ready for work. And this is every morning.
That is, every morning except this one.
I had a gut feeling something was wrong.
Kamisha's mom spends more than an hour that morning trying to get a hold of her daughter.
Hey, you reached Kamisha. Leave me a message.
Kamisha, it's Mom. Call me when you get this.
I kept calling from like probably 6 o'clock to maybe about 7:30, no answer.
She also calls Kamisha's longtime boyfriend, Marvin Young.
There is no answer from him either.
Next, Kamisha's mother reaches out to her sister.
Hey, you heard anything from Kamisha today?
Every morning she would always send me either a text message or a message through Facebook asking me to meet her at the gym. She'd always want to go for like a 5 or 6 a.m. body pump. I would never ever go, but she messaged me every day anyway.
But that morning, Caprice Hollis never heard from her sister.
So I texted her, "Are you going to the gym?" or something like that, and she didn't text me back.
When Kamisha's mother hears this, she gets in her car.
I drove to her job. I probably was going 70, 80 miles an hour.
Hi, is Kamisha here?
No, I haven't seen her.
The guy at the front desk said, no, Kamisha didn't check in this morning.
Sorry.
Not only did Kamisha not come into work, but she also didn't call in.
And that's when she started getting alarmed.
I knew something was wrong.
Thank you.
Kamisha Hollis had always been the heart and soul of her family.
We were so close, never argued, never had a fight.
She always had my back. If there were opportunities that I was too afraid to make a chance at, she was right there encouraging me, pushing me.
No one is perfect, but she was close to perfect. I couldn't ask for a better daughter.
She was someone I always looked up to.
Plenty of people outside the family felt the same way about Kamisha.
Everyone that was fortunate enough to be in her life, they loved her.
In high school, one of those friends had introduced her to Marvin Young.
My sister had started dating him when she was 17 years old.
She was so happy she was with him, and she was like crazy over him.
She could always just gush about him and, you know, how he was all these amazing things.
She talked about him, the family he came from. You know, it was like a broken family. He kind of was alone.
He was a very reserved person, kind of kept to himself.
All right, I'll text you later.
I think that's what really drew her to him, because he was by himself and he didn't have a relationship with his family. Once she graduated, they lived in their own apartment.
Soon after, Kamisha learned she was pregnant.
She was thinking she couldn't have children. And so she was so excited when she was pregnant.
She had always wanted to have kids, so finding out she was pregnant for the first time, it was probably one of the happiest moments of her life.
2 more daughters soon followed.
She had the 3 girls back to back.
But raising a family wasn't always easy.
She was working. He was working a little.
He would pick up jobs here and there, but my sister was always primarily caretaker. Everything she did in her life was always based on how will this help my girls? How will this set them up for a healthy future?
You couldn't ask for a better mom.
But now, this devoted mother has mysteriously disappeared.
She hasn't been answering her mother's phone calls.
Kamisha also hadn't shown up for work.
Thank you. My next step is to call the school. Let's see if the children is at school.
The answer is no.
The principal told me that the bus driver said when she went by to pick them up, no one was out there to put the kids on the bus.
Now worried about the children too, Kamisha's mother races to their house.
It was real dark. The shades wasn't open.
But does that mean no one is home?
Kamisha, it's your mom.
Eventually, someone comes to the door. Kamisha's oldest daughter.
Hey, where's your mom? Your mom here? No? Okay, what about your dad? Your dad here?
No.
No? Y'all here by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
When they woke up, the parents were gone.
Oh my Lord. Oh my God, baby. Okay.
Dating for years, ever since her senior year of high school.
They ended up having 3 beautiful children together.
She did whatever she had to do for them, just made them feel very loved. She was a really good mom.
But now, Kamisha's mother has just found her granddaughters at home, alone.
The oldest one said they was there all night. She said, we've been here all night by ourselves in the house.
They woke up and their mom and dad were both gone.
Kamisha loves her kids, and she would never just leave them by themselves.
Something was seriously wrong.
The only thing Martha sees left to do is call the Omaha police.
Yes, hi. I'd like to file a missing persons report.
Officers arrive on the scene a few minutes later.
When police get a call about a missing person, they do an initial investigation to see if there was any sort of forced entry or break into the home.
They do a search around the property.
But they come up empty-handed.
A quick check through the house didn't find anything disturbed or out of place. No sign of any kind of violence.
Officers also try to get some information from the missing couple's children.
The kids crying and everything, and we trying to calm the kids down, and just a lot of questions.
But the kids have no idea where their parents are.
They say, we don't know what happened.
You hear from her, will you please let us know?
Yes.
In the meantime, we'll get this report over to detectives and they'll be in contact.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
However, it isn't long until at least part of the mystery is solved when detectives are finally able to get a hold of Marvin.
Marvin tells them that he was out searching for Kamisha.
I've been looking everywhere for her.
He said he left the kids alone because they were asleep when he woke up and found Kamisha not in the house.
Now that the detectives have made contact with Marvin, they ask him to come into the station.
We'll need you to come down to the station so we can talk a little more.
They brought him in and interviewed him and everything.
We were watching TV.
He tells them him, Kamisha, and the girls had a quiet Easter night.
He says he put the kids to bed, and then he turned in too.
Going to bed?
Yeah.
Hey, I'll be up when this is over.
According to Marvin, Kamisha had stayed up watching TV.
He said that was the last time he saw Kamisha.
I woke up, I don't know, like 5 o'clock, and she hadn't come to bed.
He went downstairs, searched around the house, didn't find her.
He also noticed her car was gone.
Did you try calling her? Yeah, but she didn't answer.
So because the children, as he says, were still asleep, he took it upon himself to go out and start looking for her.
However, Marvin says he can verify his story.
And they had surveillance cameras inside the home.
They also have monitors on the doors.
You have access to that footage?
Yeah, of course.
The one in the living room saw Kamisha sitting on the couch on her cell phone at about 1:45 in the morning.
It looked like she was maybe texting with someone.
He says he put the kids to bed, and then he turned in too.
She goes outside the camera view, and she's not seen again.
Then, at a little before 2 a.m., Kamisha gets up from the couch.
They then see someone out of frame tip the living room camera down.
You can no longer see anything that's going on inside the residence.
I also have security storage as well.
All the detectives know for sure is that someone left the house sometime later.
The alarm system reports every time a door opens and closes.
the basement door opened and closed around 4:07 a.m. They can only assume it was Kamisha because she's the one who's not there.
But where could Kamisha have gone, and why? The detectives uncover a possible answer when they circle back to Kamisha's mother.
I had to take the kids to get them checked out. And then I went to the police station for an interview, about Kamisha, what do we think happened.
Now, what her mom had to say raised some interesting questions for detectives.
So Marvin said that she left in the middle of the night.
I mean, yeah, I could see that. And he was abusive to her.
She had called me one day. She told me that he was very verbally abusive. He was controlling. And I was like, wow.
She had gotten to a point where she just kept saying, I just want to be done.
And according to her mom, Kamisha may have found a way out.
She had this good friend that lived in Omaha. She was talking to him, letting him know what was going on with her relationship with Marvin.
Kamisha's mother wasn't sure if they were more than friends, but she knew he was someone Kamisha could turn to.
I think because, he was a man, she could talk to him more than, her mom or her sister.
Security cameras in the home of Kamisha Hollis appear to show the missing mother of three texting with someone just a few hours before she disappeared.
She leaves soon after and does not come back.
The home's alarm system registers someone opening and closing the basement door around 4 a.m.
And when detectives talk to Kamisha's mother, she has an idea of where her daughter might have gone.
Kamisha told Martha she started seeing another man.
They was a really good friend even when she was with Marvin.
Do you know that guy's name?
No, she told me once, but I can't remember.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay.
I'll walk you out.
Thank you.
When detectives talk to Kamisha's sister, she confirms that there was trouble in the relationship.
She said things were not going okay, but she didn't go too much into detail for us.
All I know is that she said he wasn't doing much to support the family.
My sister was overwhelmed. She was working the 2 jobs, and she was still managing to get the kids to school, taking them to every appointment. She was definitely stretched thin with basically operating as a single parent while not actually being one.
Eventually, she'd had enough.
She was ready to just be done with him and take her daughters and go and live their best lives.
And this friend of Kamisha's that your mom mentioned.
Frank?
Is that his name?
Yeah, I think so.
You have a last name?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
That's all she could give Omaha Police Department.
Thank you.
Hoping to identify Frank, the detectives subpoena Kamisha's cell phone records.
Maybe Frank can help find where Kamisha is.
Detectives also issue a be on the lookout for Kamisha's car.
They were worried for her safety. They told us in the press release that they wanted to find her car.
But the first possible clue to Kamisha's whereabouts comes from her phone records.
They were able to get the GPS tag for the last location of Kamisha's cell phone.
Her cell phone was pinging all along south of where Marvin and Kamisha lived together, all the way down to a wildlife preservation that was probably about 30 miles away.
The remote location raises a chilling prospect.
It's at the convergence of the Missouri River and the Platte River. So there's a lot of water, a lot of vegetation, easy to move in and out of there without being seen.
It's exactly the sort of place where someone would dump a body.
Fearing the worst, the detectives head to the nature preserve.
They're hoping it's a breakthrough in the case, but once they get to the location, they find there is nobody there.
All the detectives find is Kamisha's cell phone.
It's just lying there in the grass, like she dropped it or someone disposed of it.
The number of red flags about this investigation have reached a point where there's a high probability of foul play involved.
They now decide to bring the K9 unit out, hoping to find Kamisha. They let the dogs smell Kamisha's clothes, and the dogs lead them right to the shoreline of the Missouri River.
The trail ends at the water's edge.
The Omaha Police Department now bring in a dive team.
Finding her won't be easy, though.
The Missouri River, it's dark, murky, muddy water. Visibility is very low.
It's also an area where bodies can get snagged and never come to surface.
They spend hours and hours searching,
but they were unable to locate Kamisha.
But does that mean she's still alive?
Maybe just her cell phone was left. Maybe Kamisha is somewhere else.
Or could her body be miles and miles away?
Who knows how long she had been in that water and how far downstream she went.
However, there may be a way for the detectives to determine if Kamisha went in the water or not.
Wildlife Management has cameras for the entrance of the park.
When detectives review the footage, it shows Kamisha's car pulling into the park at around 1 p.m. on April 2nd.
They then see her car leaving around 1:30 p.m.
And fortunately, they couldn't see who was behind the wheel.
Did you see that?
But for the detectives, the circumstances suggest it isn't Kamisha.
Here's her car in an area south of Omaha where it had really no legitimate purpose to be. Then the dog tracks her scent up to the edge of the Missouri River, and then you see the car leaving about 30 minutes later, which is consistent with what it would take to take that body down there and put it in the water.
Foul play appears even more likely when police locate Kamisha's car a few days later.
2 uniformed police officers found her vehicle parked in a hotel parking lot. They contacted investigators and contacted the crime lab to process that vehicle for any forensic evidence they might be able to find.
What CSI finds inside the car appears to confirm the detective's suspicion that their missing persons case is actually a homicide.
It appeared as if someone had taken steps to power wash the back seat.
But CSI investigators find a few spots the power washing missed.
There was blood in the car.
Detectives searching for Kamisha Hollis suspect the missing mother of 3 may have been the victim of foul play.
They tracked Kamisha's phone to a wildlife preserve 30 miles from her home.
Look at this.
And they found the phone near the banks of the Missouri River.
They've also found her car abandoned outside an Omaha hotel.
They find what is believed to be blood inside of it.
And when detectives pop the trunk, they uncover more evidence that suggests she'd met an untimely end.
We found her purse in the trunk.
Kamisha's wallet, ID, and credit card are all in the purse.
If something had happened where Kamisha ran or left, it comes into question as to why she would have left her ID and her purse.
Detectives believe the answer lies in the bloodstains crime scene investigators found in the car's back seat.
Samples are taken from those splotches to see if they can get some DNA.
While the forensic techs work, detectives canvass the neighborhood.
They asked for surrounding businesses to help with any video surveillance that they've had.
They're hoping the footage will allow them to identify whoever ditched the vehicle in the hotel parking lot.
Detectives also attempt to track down the mystery man in Kamisha's life.
When Kamisha's long-term relationship with Marvin Young started falling apart, she turned to an old friend for support.
A man her sister only knew as Frank.
They just have a first name.
But it's enough.
Combing through Kamisha's phone records, they're able to identify her.
They find out Frank's name is Franklin Green.
Once they have Frank's full name, finding his address is a simple matter.
Can I help you?
Yeah, we're here to ask you a few questions about Kamisha Hollis.
Have you found her? No, we haven't.
They go and talk to him and learn that she's not with him. He has not seen her.
He says he last talked to her late on Easter Sunday.
He's tried to reach her, and he can't contact her.
So how would you explain your relationship with Kamisha?
We've known one another for a long time now.
And lately?
Well, not a lot of people knew, but we become closer, actually romantic.
They had developed a romantic relationship.
They decided to take things slow while Kamisha worked things out with Marvin.
You mean like patching things up?
Not exactly.
Frank tells the detectives the same thing they'd heard from Kamisha's mom and sister, that she was ready to move on.
Franklin tells OPD Kamisha gave Marvin a deadline to move out of the home they shared.
According to Frank, Marvin was supposed to be out by the 1st of April,
which was the day before Kamisha's disappearance.
That raises a red flag.
You think Marvin might have done something to Kamisha?
Definitely.
Why do you say that?
Just the story she shared with me.
Kamisha would tell him horror stories.
She had told him about Marvin's history of violence, how angry he could be, how controlling he was of her.
They had been physically fighting a lot.
How long had that been going on?
For quite a long time, actually.
He spent the whole relationship isolating Kamisha from her friends and family, abusing her.
According to Frank, Marvin had also been abusive toward the children.
The children couldn't even make loud noise in the house without him getting verbal and physically assaulted.
Did you witness that?
No, she just told me this.
Frank says that isn't all Kamisha told him either.
Frank tells them Kamisha said, "If anything happens to me, Marvin is to blame."
So you think that's what happened?
For sure.
She was in fear of him. It would make any logical and reasonable person think that he's highly likely to be the person responsible for her disappearance.
Especially if she was leaving Marvin to be with Frank.
When you leave that relationship is the most dangerous time. The abuser is losing ultimate control, and that's what it's about. It's about control. Nobody's going to have you but me.
Could that be what happened to Kamisha?
The abusers will do anything to regain that control, and they are willing to risk it all.
Or could Frank have another motive for pointing the finger at Marvin?
Or is he using this as a ploy to take the attention off of him and put it back on Marvin?
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
The answer comes when detectives receive the surveillance footage they subpoenaed after finding Kamisha's car.
Police are able to obtain the actual video from the hotel parking lot.
They see a man get out of Kamisha's car.
And this time, they're able to make out his identity.
It looks like Marvin.
Detectives searching for missing mother of three, Kamisha Hollis, have uncovered evidence that her boyfriend, Marvin Young, may be responsible for her disappearance.
Security cameras at the hotel where police found Kamisha's car captured video of the man who abandoned it in the hotel parking lot.
That man they see on camera is Marvin Young.
It was contrary to the story he'd already given to law enforcement.
Marvin claimed he'd spent the day looking for Kamisha.
But now the detectives have video proof that Marvin spent at least part of the day in Kamisha's car.
Detectives also suspect he drove her car to the nature preserve where they recovered her phone.
The video of Marvin ditching the car at the hotel was recorded a few hours after cameras also captured Kamisha's car exiting the nature preserve.
Investigators are now at the point where they want to arrest Marvin.
There's only one problem.
They can't arrest Marvin for murder because they have not found a body.
Instead, they take him into custody on 3 charges of child neglect.
They arrest him for leaving his 3 children at home alone the morning of Kamisha's disappearance.
Police are able to hold him for these charges and maybe try to get to the bottom of what really happened to Kamisha Hollis.
Detectives begin by sitting Marvin down for another interview.
Look, I shouldn't have left him, but I was trying to find Kamisha.
They drilled him and they asked him, where's Kamisha?
Man, look, I told you I don't know.
We think you do.
Hey, y'all send me off, man. Whoa. Hey, get off me.
He threw a fit during the police interrogation.
They had to handcuff him and put him in his cell.
With Marvin refusing to cooperate, the detectives are no closer to finding Kamisha.
The last place that she left a scent for a tracking dog to find was on the shoreline of the Missouri River. There was a high probability that she was in the water.
Although without Kamisha's body, proving it in court won't be easy.
Omaha police didn't have a lot to go on in terms of what may have happened inside the house the night that Kamisha disappeared.
However, someone does know. And with Marvin behind bars, she's ready to talk.
Homicide.
Kamisha's mother calls the investigators and tells them that Kamisha's oldest daughter knew more about what happened that night than she and her youngest sisters had initially let on.
They were afraid of him. They really missed their mom, but they were also afraid to speak up and share things.
She's only 10 years old.
When Kamisha's mother brings the little girl in to talk to detectives, she starts by confirming what Kamisha's friend Frank had already told them.
Marvin was physically abusive towards his children and his girlfriend.
While they were inside of that house, they had to spend all their time being quiet. He was able to keep them in their own prison.
They were just paralyzed with fear.
He would tell them, don't tell your grandma anything when y'all go to visit. If y'all do, I'm gonna beat y'all.
In addition to the threats, it appears that Marvin had taken extra precautions the night Kamisha disappeared.
Daddy gave us some medicine.
Marvin had given all 3 of the children cough syrup laced with codeine.
But according to Kamisha's daughter, she and her sister weren't sick.
We felt fine at first, but he told us it was supposed to help us sleep better.
But Kamisha's oldest had spit out the cough syrup when her father wasn't looking.
She had that feeling that something wrong was going to happen.
The youngest 2 fell asleep, but she didn't. And she said she was trying to listen.
Kamisha's daughter says it wasn't long before she heard something.
It sounded like him and her mom was in their bedroom, and he was fighting her mom, beating her mom.
Their daughter said when they have these kinds of arguments, it usually ends with Marvin hurting their mom.
That night didn't appear to be any different.
She could hear her mom say stop, and then all of a sudden she didn't hear anything.
In the quiet, she had eventually dozed off.
She says she fell asleep even though she tried her best to stay awake.
And now that her father is locked up, she felt safe coming forward.
She says she didn't tell investigators at first because she was scared.
But will a 10-year-old's testimony be enough to secure a murder conviction?
Even more convinced that Marvin is responsible for Kamisha's disappearance, detectives subpoena the cell tower data from his cell phone.
Marvin left the family home at 5:11 a.m. the day of Kamisha's disappearance.
The records show him heading to the nature preserve, where detectives believe he dumped Kamisha's body.
Marvin was at the wildlife park the same time that Kamisha's phone pinged at the Missouri River.
There's a direct parallel between the tower pings on Kamisha's phone and Marvin's phone, same place, same time.
Which, as far as the detectives are concerned, can only mean one thing.
He put Kamisha's body in her own vehicle and drove her to that wildlife refuge.
Young murdered his girlfriend, Kamisha Hollis, and dumped her body in the Missouri River.
They have circumstantial evidence indicating Marvin did kill Kamisha, but they do not have a body, even several months after her disappearance.
Without a body, the detectives felt they needed more evidence before they could bring charges.
Hoping to strengthen the case against Marvin, the detectives combed through Kamisha's cell phone and a computer recovered from her house.
On Kamisha's cell phone, investigators find several pictures of Kamisha's bruises, cuts. They also find a voice recording of Marvin yelling at Kamisha and telling her he was going to kill her.
Kamisha realized the trouble she was in, so she had to document it on her own to make sure that if something did happen to her, there was a trail.
Detectives find even more documentation on Kamisha's computer.
Investigators find an email on Kamisha's computer that was drafted in July 2017 that goes into detail about Marvin's abuse. It talks about one incident where she was beat unconscious by Marvin.
She also wrote in that email that if something ever happened to her, it was Marvin who did it.
On June 14th, 2019, over a year after Kamisha disappeared, prosecutors are finally able to charge Marvin with first-degree murder.
Even without the body, investigators now believe they have enough evidence.
Oh my God, I was so happy. I was so happy. I said, they finally got him, they got him.
But murder charges are one thing. A conviction is another.
When you don't have a body, it's a tricky case.
What the prosecutors need is a confession. But Marvin continues to maintain his innocence as his trial date approaches.
Marvin and his defense team stand strong that he didn't do it.
Then, just days before the trial, everything changes.
The prosecutor called me and she said, we're going to take a plea deal. And I said, no, let's take it to court. Let the jury decide. And she stated, well, we might lose if we take it to trial.
Marvin takes a plea deal where he pleads no contest to manslaughter, which is a lesser charge, which more or less means that Kamisha was killed, but there was no intent to kill her.
At Marvin's sentencing hearing, the prosecution lays out their theory of what happened in the early morning hours of April 2nd, 2018.
Kamisha and Marvin had been fighting all day on Easter about him leaving the house.
This is my house. They're my kids. I don't care, Marvin. You got to go.
But Marvin had no intention of leaving.
Marvin was determined to not move out of the family home. He did not want to give up Kamisha, and he definitely didn't want to give up Kamisha to another man.
He will do whatever it takes to make sure that she's not going anywhere.
He started by drugging the children with cough syrup.
That was an act of premeditation to make sure he didn't have any witnesses in the house.
Once the kids were asleep, Marvin and Kamisha continued their heated argument.
You can't kick me out. Watch me.
And when she continued to push him to leave is when he finally said, it's going to be my way.
Marvin turned violent.
Marvin brutally beat Kamisha and possibly strangled her as well.
Without Kamisha's body, the prosecutors can't say exactly how she was killed.
And as part of Marvin's manslaughter plea, they couldn't say that he'd intentionally killed her.
He was admitting that he killed her, but it wasn't premeditated. It was during the course of a heated physical argument. Her death, quote, was accidental.
Premeditated or not, once Kamisha was dead, Marvin had tried to conceal what he'd done.
Marvin disabled the cameras.
He tried to clean up the evidence inside the home.
Then at around 4 a.m., he loaded Kamisha's body into her car.
The home security system logged him going out the basement door.
Marvin drove around with Kamisha's body in the car before heading to the wildlife preserve.
At the wildlife preserve, he dragged Kamisha's body to the river's edge and put her in the water. Then he headed back into town to get rid of her car.
Between dumping Kamisha's body and leaving the vehicle at the hotel, Marvin goes to a car wash and starts scrubbing out the back of her vehicle to cover up any other evidence.
Hearing what likely happened to Kamisha is an ordeal for her family.
I really didn't want to go, but I went on behalf of Kamisha.
Just sitting there and just listening to everything be recounted, I just wanted it to be over.
Marvin, on the other hand, appears unmoved.
I remember we went to one court hearing, and he turned around and asked me, "How's the girls?"
He acted as though he still had control over what was happening.
And there is one piece of leverage that Marvin still clings to. The closure Kamisha's family desperately needs.
The one thing that Kamisha's mother and family wants to know is where she's at, so they can lay her to rest properly.
Even after hearing the pleas from Kamisha's mother and her children, Marvin still refused to tell where he dumped Kamisha's body.
It's like he still have control over us. I have control over her mom, her family, and everything, because I'm not going to say where Kamisha at.
But it's the judge who has control over Marvin's fate.
The judge sentences Marvin to 23 years in prison.
It's not enough to satisfy Kamisha's family.
I pleaded with the judge. This is what he did to my daughter, and this is the time y'all going to give him. It's still unbelievable today.
A lot of people would say, you got something, so that's better than nothing, but it really just doesn't feel like she got any justice.
There's no peace, no justice for the family until they know where Kamisha's body is at and lay her to rest.
But
Cleveland, Ohio is a rugged Rust Belt town built on manufacturing and big industry. But Cleveland has also seen more than its fair share of adversity. And in the early 2000s, a string of mysterious disappearances would eventually lead police to a monster lurking in their midst. Cleveland was founded in 1796 at the mouth of the Cuyahoga River, the perfect location for a city destined to become an industrial powerhouse.
The reason Cleveland was primed for this type of growth and the industry itself is where it's located along, Lake Erie and access to the river. You were able to bring in a lot of different shipments and then an easy way to export things out of the city.
The steel industry, the railroad industry, just helped facilitate the whole Midwest in its developments.
You had a lot of manufacturing jobs. The steel mills were extremely popular, and then the auto manufacturers as well.
Back in the roaring 20s, you would have seen many smokestacks, many factories.
Plentiful job opportunities soon brought immigrants from around the world.
Cleveland was a destination for many of the European immigrants, a lot of the Irish, a lot of the Hungarian people came. They settled in the area known as Buckeye. What's great about the city is that you get all sorts of wonderful, diverse culture from the immigration that came in. I mean, you have some of the just fabulous Italian restaurants. There's a section called Little Italy. People from all parts of the world.
Black workers from the South would play an especially important role in the city's growth.
The Black workforce was extremely integral in building what we see today, largely because you didn't have to have a lot of formal training or education to be successful. You had individuals that were coming from backgrounds where they were marginalized, not provided access. And for the first time, they were able to enter into a workforce where they could also have that same sense of pride and ownership and be respected for their contribution.
Those same laborers helped lay the foundation of Cleveland's cultural identity.
You had this really interesting melting pot because you had these different neighborhoods where you knew this is where the Slovenians lived, this is where the Italians lived, this is where the Irish, this is where the black community had migrated to Cleveland. There was a really bustling, black, I would say, corridor and thoroughfare where you had hotels, you had restaurants, you had clubs. The, term rock and roll was really coined in Cleveland by groups like the OJs and others that came out of Cleveland.
But as with many cities in the U.S., by the mid-1960s, redlining and housing discrimination would lead to a stark racial divide in Cleveland.
The county became very divided racially. It was an east-west thing. The east part of the city was black, the west side of the city was white.
The names that come to mind in terms of prominent black communities in the heyday of Cleveland would be like Huff and Glenville, and now, Fairfax as well, because these were places that black Clevelanders really kind of concentrated.
But despite the divide, Clevelanders are united by a common love for their city.
What are the three things that we always come together on? Music, food, and sports. And so with Cleveland being a big music town, a big food town, and a big sports town, a lot of the times you're forgetting that you're different races. You're forgetting that you're from a different background because we're fighting this together. We all want the Browns to win. We all want a corned beef sandwich, and we all want to listen to a great live band. And so for us, it's oftentimes putting aside our differences because our similarities are more powerful.
One of the things that people, really united on, especially in this blue-collar kind of town, is everybody had to work for it. I mean, people talk about nothing is given in Cleveland, you have to earn it.
Although that unity has helped Cleveland's residents overcome many hardships, the city would once again be put to the test when it became the hunting ground for one of America's most infamous predators. Friday, April 2nd, 2004. It's a rainy spring afternoon in Cleveland's West Boulevard neighborhood. Children file out of Wilbur Wright Middle School ready to start the weekend.
If you can imagine, the school day ending at any school, kids are taking school buses, some kids are walking home.
Among the excited students is 14-year-old Gina DeJesus.
Gina was a young middle school girl in, getting into the very prime and fun part of your life as a young lady.
She was born on the west side, and she's one of 3 kids. She's the baby. And the parents, as far as I know, were always doting of her. She was always dancing around. She was just always happy doing what a typical 14-year-old would do. You go home, you hang out with your friends, maybe go to the corner store. She was walking home with her friend Arlene, and Arlene decided to stop and call her mom to see if she can go over to her house. So remember, at the time, there weren't cell phones, so they used a payphone. And then her mom, Arlene's mom, said, no, I want you to come home. And so at that point, the two parted ways.
She lent her friend some change in order for her friend to call, make a phone call. And from that point, she no longer had the money for a bus ride, so she decided to continue to walk. So she walked along eastbound on Lorraine Avenue.
Lorraine Avenue in that area is very middle class, working class neighborhood. You've got some family-owned restaurants, you've got some businesses, you got a couple of fast food places, a couple of strip malls, some local taverns.
This wasn't like some sort of back alley or dark thoroughfare.
Several hours later, Gina's parents grow concerned when she still hasn't made it home.
She just never showed up. And anyone who's a parent knows their kid's routine. And these two parents knew that routine.
As time goes by, an hour, 2 hours, now you're like, no, I haven't seen her. No one has seen her. And you start making your phone calls to your friends, relatives, check and see if she's over so-and-so's house. See if has anyone seen her down the street. Maybe she stopped at the store before she got home. By the time dinner time comes around and the panic kind of sets in.
Around 5:30 p.m., Gina's parents contact police to report their daughter missing.
Her parents were saying Gina would not take off like this. She wouldn't run away. She has a good life here. She has a good family. She has no reason to run away. And they were just totally confused over why their daughter was missing.
To Cleveland detectives, Gina doesn't fit the profile of a teen runaway, so their focus shifts to a much grimmer possibility.
Obviously, the last thing that someone would think would be that their child or their loved one was abducted.
This very, very quickly shifted from, somebody who didn't come home, maybe she's gone to a friend's house, to a full-blown missing persons investigation.
Cleveland police scour Lorraine Avenue, looking for any possible leads.
The resources are concentrated in a 6-block area every day, all day, to see if we can't pick something up. Even a conversation of someone pulling to the side of the road and talking to someone could be innocent. For directions, we want to talk to that person. We want to see who they are and what they're saying. We identified some young female officers that would, walk around undercover and see if anyone, says anything to you. Like I said, we were really looking for, for anything or anybody that we could legally stop and talk to and have a conversation with, and see if that would lead to something.
And I remember as a reporter, you'd go around in the neighborhood, and if there's a car dealership there, if there's a fast food store there, or if there is a convenience store there, you're looking to see if there are cameras. And yeah, there weren't very many cameras, not like today, but no, there was nothing. There was nothing. I thought she was dead. After 24 hours, if you can't find anything, you're not going to find them.
14-year-old Gina DeJesus has been reported missing by her family after she failed to return home from school. Cleveland police have launched a search for the missing girl, but she appears to have vanished without a trace.
Can't place her between leaving school, getting to Lorraine, and in between her home. Can't place her there. Can't find anybody that saw anything unusual. We conducted days and days and days of surveillance in the area just to see if, anything happened. We had the FBI assist us. We had the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, assist us.
But as investigators soon discover, Gina isn't the only girl who's gone missing from the area. In April of 2003, nearly 1 year to the day before Gina vanished, 16-year-old Amanda Berry disappeared a block away from where Gina was last seen.
She had left work at a Burger King at West 110th and Lorraine and started walking northbound on West 110th. Her house was only a few yards away from where she was last seen, and she disappeared, just in thin air.
So right away, similarities, same time, general location. So we became very focused on that.
Because of the proximity of Amanda's disappearance and the fact that they're both teenagers taken in broad daylight, those two investigations started to run along the same track.
What's going on? Who's doing this? We got somebody in our community snatching these girls.
Although police suspect the cases are connected, they're unable to come up with any solid leads.
The families did a good job of continuing to keep Amanda and Gina's case at the forefront. I know personally investigators had their missing persons posters up at their desks, and every day they saw them. Every day they thought and tried to follow leads that came in, trying to find both Amanda and Gina.
Nearly a decade goes by without a break in either case. But that all changes on May 6th, 2013, when 44-year-old Charles Ramsey hears noises coming from his neighbor's house.
He's, just sitting in his living room, about to bite into his cheeseburger. Then all of a sudden he hears, this banging coming from next door.
Boom, 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 boom. Finally, get up, look outside the window. The boom, boom, boom is not on my door.
Charles goes outside and he looks at his neighbor's house there, and he sees this young woman banging on the door and trying to slip her arm out between the storm door and the door frame. Get me out of here! Get me out of here! He tugs on the storm door, and it's he couldn't get it to open any further.
I ripped that door off its hinges. Reason why? It was chained. So this wasn't going to be no easy task. All right, so you had to put some muscle into it.
She crawls through the door, and then she brings her child, and this child is just in terror. This child is totally scared to death, just crying and screaming, carrying on. And this woman says, I'm Amanda Berry. He, called the police, and the police, come flying down Seymour Avenue.
As soon as we got to Seymour, we saw a little crowd off to the left-hand side, which was the driver's side of the car. And we saw a girl standing there holding a baby. As soon as we got close enough, she walked up towards the driver's side of the vehicle, and she said, "My name is Amanda Berry." And my partner, asked her, "Is there anybody else in the house?" She stated to my partner, "Yeah, Gina DeJesus and another girl was in the house." Me and my partner looked at each other. We just couldn't believe what we were hearing. We go into save mode. We gotta save these two other girls. We go in, we pull our guns. I immediately, on my right-hand side, saw a stairwell. Then there was a second flight to get to the landing of the second floor. Now, that was kind of a scary part because I didn't know, if I pulled this curtain back, was this guy going to be standing there, with a gun? Was he going to charge at me? I was yelling out, "Cleveland police, Cleveland police." It was silent, couldn't hear anything. So I just went for it and pulled the curtain back, and there was nothing there. Off to the left, there was a bedroom that was open. We saw a mattress on the floor, and the light was on. And there was just toys scattered all over the place. All of a sudden, I see a little head poke out of around the corner of the door jamb. I thought it was a small child, and she jumped on me, put her arms around my neck, put her legs around my waist, and was screaming in my face, "You saved us, you saved us." My name is Michelle Knight. I've been here for, 11 years. I saw another shadow come around the corner, and I could see who it was. And for confirmation, I asked her her name, and she told me her name was Georgina DeJesus. And I told her, "We were looking for you for a long time." And I told her you were safe now.
Cleveland police have just rescued 3 women being held captive in a residential neighborhood.
Not only did we find Amanda Berry and Gino DeJesus, who we all knew were missing, but there was a third person, Michelle Knight, that was on nobody's radar, and she also emerged from this house of horrors, as well as a fourth person, a little person that was actually born into captivity.
When I found out who the child was, you know, I was happy for Amanda, but at the same time, you know, kind of sad that who the father had to be.
While the survivors are taken to the hospital for treatment, investigators conduct a search of the home.
We were looking around the house, making sure nobody else was in there, and we were seeing horrific, I mean, chains and locks with holes in the doors where he would lock the doors and he would pass food through these holes, you know, to these girls for them to eat, you know, when he decided to feed them. I mean, it was just a horrific sight to see.
All the windows had indoor doors tacked onto them, so you could never see the light of day. It was dark.
There was no air conditioning, so just imagine living in a situation like that during the hot summers, the hot, humid summers that Cleveland has, as well as the temperature changes in the winter.
They were in those chains 24/7. It was very daunting to think of that, and to think that there was a little girl in one of those rooms.
You feel sorry for these girls on what they went through, you know, all these years, and, you know, it makes you wonder how resilient they were.
The identity of their abductor isn't hard to determine. Police find mail addressed to a 52-year-old man named Ariel Castro.
Ariel Castro was known within certain circles because he was a musician. Everybody in the neighborhood, they didn't say he was a monster. They just said he was weird.
Just kind of kept to himself, you know, went to work, came home, and tinkered with his cars in the backyard, and that was it.
Castro was a bus driver, of all things. But, you know, he has own children, an own family that he was estranged from. So his wife had left him, taken the children, and he had only seen them on occasion.
All 3 women say Castro abducted them and held them prisoner for the past 10 years.
Michelle was pretty much under the radar at that time. When she was taken in 2002, she was an adult.
He came up to her and began talking to her at the dollar store, and asked her if she needed a ride to where she was going. And she said, well, okay, yeah, I guess, you know, I'll go with you.
She had kind of recognized him as the father of somebody she went to school with. So she felt safe that she knew her daughter, and so she got into the van with him.
She gets in the car, and then he starts saying he has, oh, I have puppies at my house. You want to see the puppies? He takes her to the house, and she looks around. She goes, there's no puppies. And then he takes her upstairs.
As soon as she got upstairs, he locked the door.
She realizes that she's stuck. And then he brutalizes her and rapes her and holds her hostage. And she was the first one. She was there for a whole year by herself.
Michelle Knight was 21 years old at the time she went missing. And even though her family did make a missing persons report, there was never that same family involvement with her disappearance. She was an adult, so the feeling was that maybe she went somewhere, left on her own accord.
By April of 2003, Castro was on the prowl for his next victim.
Amanda starts to walk home, and Castro had already had his sights set on her. So he was already deciding he was going to get this second person in the home.
Amanda knew his son. They went to school together. They worked at Burger King. She was on her way home. It was a day before her birthday. So she took a ride.
He used the fact that she knew his son to his advantage, and he said, "Oh, I'll take you home," and he didn't take her home. He took her straight to the house. And did the same thing he did with Michelle. Tied her up, beat her, assaulted her, raped her.
And then once that happened, and again, nobody found him, people were looking for her, but not him. Then he did it with Gina.
Gina also trusted Castro because he was the father of her best friend.
Arlene is Ariel Castro's daughter, and she had no clue her father was a part of it. So basically, he used his daughter to get to Gina. She got in a car with her friend's dad, who she had known. No one would ever suspect that because she willingly got in the car. And that's why she just vanished out of nowhere.
But as investigators will soon discover, they've only scratched the surface of Castro's nightmarish crimes.
I felt disgusted. I mean, how a human being can treat another human being.
Cleveland police have discovered that a bus driver named Ariel Castro has been kidnapping young women and holding them captive for years. The torments his survivors describe are almost unimaginable.
Initially, he would kidnap one of them, and to break him mentally, he would take him downstairs and chain him up.
Those chains were chains that you would use to tow cars. I'm not talking about a little chain link that you wrap around, the fence post to let your dog go outside and go to the bathroom.
And after he forced himself on them, repeatedly raped them, he would put a helmet on their head for hours and hours and hours. And then the only way they can go to the bathroom was in a bucket. There was no toilet.
He would exchange a simple luxury of going to the bathroom or taking a shower for a sexual favor. I mean, it's pretty horrific when you sit and think about some of the things they had to do or barter for food.
Castro also liked to play sadistic mind games to break their spirits.
He would often test them. He would sometimes, act like he was going to work and then come back 5 minutes later to see if they were trying to get out, trying to escape in some way.
He would catch them and he would beat them, and then he would hog tie them in the basement for long periods of time. He would continue to do this over and over and over again until they just decided not to try it anymore.
People would say, well, why wouldn't you scream and yell? I would have. You would think that until you're in that position, that he mentally changed the way they think. You have chains on you. You're locked down. You're in separate rooms. What do you do?
Worse yet, 2 of the women had become pregnant during the years of sexual abuse.
Michelle had became pregnant a few times, but Ariel did not want a baby from Michelle, and he would punch her in the stomach constantly when he would find out that she would be pregnant, and that's how he would abort the child.
Like Michelle, Amanda Berry also became pregnant. She would give birth on Christmas Day of 2006, 3 years after her abduction.
Amanda's daughter was born in one of those, those summer pools that have little fish in them.
Michelle was assisting in that birth, and Ariel was saying, you better make sure this child survives. If this child dies, you die. You can imagine the pressure that was on her.
When the baby was born, the baby wasn't breathing. So Michelle gave the baby CPR and it started breathing. If it wasn't for Michelle, where would that baby be?
Big change came when the child started to understand and started to notice. And as children, they ask a lot of questions. And one of the questions that the child asked was about the chains. Why is my mom chained up? He did not want the child to say something to outsiders that my mom's being chained up in the house. So from that point on, he stopped using the chains, but still would lock the doors. So the child kind of changed the dynamics inside the house.
The women bided their time, waiting for a chance to escape. It would finally come on May 6, 2013.
Ariel had left the house. Normally, he locks everything down, but that particular day he did not lock one of the doors down all the way.
Amanda saw that as an opportunity, so she took that chance, grabbed her daughter, went down the stairs, opened the multiple chains that were on that front door, got the front door open, but storm door, the outer door, was actually welded shut.
She yelled at the other girls that, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. And that's when she began, banging on the door.
The survivors are now safe, but Castro is still at large. And Cleveland police are about to launch the biggest manhunt in the city's history. Investigators are on the hunt for 52-year-old Ariel Castro, a bus driver who for 10 years kept 3 women and a child in prison in his Cleveland home. Luckily, they wouldn't have to search very long.
As Amanda was outside with the other officers, she gave more information on Ariel Castro. She was giving what type of car he was driving and things like that. The officers gave that information to our dispatch, and our dispatch had ran Ariel Castro's name and, found the vehicle that he was driving, found the license plate, and broadcasted that information to any other vehicle that was out patrolling the area.
Sure enough, another officer saw this blue convertible pulling into the McDonald's parking lot, and it had a guy who matched the description in it. And so they did a takedown right there at the McDonald's.
When detectives run a background check on Castro, they uncover a troubled past full of violence and abuse.
There was this whole history with him, with his common-law wife, where he beat in her head, and the police were called several times. And he brutalized her, absolutely brutalized her.
He was into all sorts of, sick forms of pornography and just was a very twisted person.
You often find these individuals who commit these types of things, they do keep a low profile. So it's not someone who seems very threatening, very simple, easygoing kind of guy who could easily blend in.
In the interrogation room, Castro freely admits to the kidnappings, but he claims that the women chose to stay with him of their own free will.
He was delusional. He sat there and talked about how everything was great and wonderful and he loved his daughter and he took her out.
He actually went to a diatribe of how well he took care of them and look how healthy they are and how better off they are. He admit them.
Bottom line is that these girls, I treat them well.
Yeah. And they're day by day.
He tried to downplay his role and make it sound like they're one big happy family. He actually had videotapes of events in there of Christmas, of Easter, where he tried to have like some sort of family atmosphere in there.
He said they all could have left when they wanted to. Well, no, they didn't leave because they couldn't. And you told them if they do leave, you're going to kill them. So did they really have much of a choice in this idyllic family that you created in your mind?
Castro also denied subjecting the women to any kind of sexual abuse.
I'm going to by force. You're saying the sex that you had with her was not by force? Right. And in your words, what type of sex was it? Consensual.
He talked about him being a victim and that there was harmony in my home. I'm like, you gotta really be demented to think there was harmony with 3 kidnapped people that you raped repeatedly.
Castro's claims of innocence fall on deaf ears, however. Prosecutors are determined to get him off the streets forever.
Our boss felt that he needed to pay for every day of harm that he brought to these girls. His feeling was that we had to charge for every day that they were harmed.
The initial charges were around 300 charges, but as we continued the interview process and continued to look through some of the documentation of the events that happened in the house, we realized there were many more charges, including this issue with the pregnancy and the termination of the pregnancy of Michelle Knight.
I mean, if there's a living being creature in your belly and somebody hurts you and, you know, you have to inevitably discard it somehow, then that's murder. And we charged it that way.
After holding 3 young women prisoner in his home on Seymour Avenue, Ariel Castro faces hundreds of charges, including kidnapping, rape, and murder. His arrest marks the end of one of the most disturbing crime sprees the city has ever seen.
I could not believe that happened in our city. I couldn't believe it happened to those women. I couldn't believe there was a person that was that close. Someone that could be in our backyard that could accomplish something like that.
The fact that there was a rescue and there could be somewhat of a positive ending is what really, I think, galvanized the city.
As Castro's trial approaches, he tries to avoid taking responsibility for his actions.
He, constantly says, I'm not a monster. He needs help. He's the victim in this whole thing. And he took every single chance he got, including writing out a 4-page letter that outlined all his issues and things that happened to him as a child, and that he just couldn't control himself.
He was abused as a kid in all sorts of horrible ways, and unfortunately, kids who suffer that type of abuse have a tendency to repeat that pattern.
He was addicted to porn, addicted to sexual, deviancies. He thought he's the one that's a victim here, and he should be helped and not punished for what he did.
His court-appointed psychiatrist sees things differently, however.
I mean, there were several experts that took a look at the case and looked at his interview. They all, I think, came back to the same conclusion. He's a sociopath. He had no feelings of others. It was all about him. It's all about his pleasure in life as opposed to anybody else's.
There was talk about some sexual deviancy, sexual addiction, but nobody was buying the victim. I'm the victim thing.
On July 17, 2013, Ariel Castro pleads not guilty to 977 separate charges. The following week, he changes his mind and accepts a plea deal.
Initially, they wanted him to get the death penalty. They took that off the table in order to get a plea deal so the girls wouldn't have to testify, because they would have to relive all of that.
My office was not in the business to re-victimize 3 young women that had been held captive for over a decade. So the plea agreement was in our efforts to protect our victims and punish the offender.
He is sentenced to life in prison plus 1,000 years, all without the possibility of parole. However, less than a month later, his incarceration comes to a surprising end.
I was in my office. Somebody had came by and said, "Did you hear Castro killed himself?"
The first thing that I thought was, wow, survivors were able to survive for 9+ years, almost a decade, and he couldn't survive for 30 days locked up in a jail cell. And they just told you all you needed to know about Castro.
Ariel Castro's name remains one of the most notorious in Cleveland's history. And for the women who survived his reign of terror, his death would be a new beginning.
For them to have the resilience that they had to come out and be able to tell their story is amazing. Amazing. I'm in awe of them all the time. For them to have survived this says a lot about who they are.
They're my heroes. I'm so happy for them that they're doing well. Michelle, she travels and speaks. You know, Amanda Berry, she does the missing persons section for the Fox 8 News in Cleveland. Gina does the Amber Alert system for Ohio. They deserve everything that's good coming to them.
It's going to be hard to look at a silhouette of the city of Cleveland and not remember this crime, not remember the great celebration that followed the resolution of one of the most horrific crimes that this city has ever seen.
Strength, honor, integrity. They say there's nothing more alluring than a man in uniform. He can make you feel safe, like he's your shield against all of life's dangers and hardships. But what if your man in uniform enlists your help on a mission? One that's deadly and could cost you everything. Would you relinquish yourself from duty? Or stay loyal to the very end? It's early morning in Severn, Maryland. A quiet town located less than 5 miles from Army Base Fort Meade.
Severn, Maryland is a suburb of Baltimore, and it is a great place to raise a family.
A lot of military people travel the area, live there.
But just before 8 a.m., a maintenance worker at a local apartment complex notices something strange. A patio door to one of the units is wide open.
The maintenance worker went to take a peek and see if someone was coming in or out, but that didn't seem the case. An open door, broad daylight, something just didn't seem right.
The maintenance worker made a call to 911 dispatch.
Anne Arundel County Police.
Good morning. I'm calling from Lexington Townhomes in Severn. One of our townhomes, the door was just open in the back of the house, but no one's responding.
Police officers arrive within minutes to investigate. When they enter the home, they find the first floor deserted.
And then they went up the stairs into the master bedroom.
They discover a tragic scene. The body of a woman on the floor, with something bundled in her arms.
There was a deceased woman shot to death, cradling an infant in her arms.
They believe at first that this is a double homicide.
She was shot 3 times. 2 in the chest, 1 in the side.
It was horrific, something that they had never seen before. But then the miraculous thing happened. There was movement from this infant.
The baby starts to cry, and it becomes very clear the baby is unharmed.
Police take the baby from the deceased woman's arms and rush her to the hospital for evaluation. It would take detectives more than a year to unravel the mystery behind this chilling crime, and to discover a woman who would go to deadly lengths for her man. Dolores Delgado was an ambitious Army soldier who served her country with honor for 6 years.
She served in the Army under administration, and she served in Iraq.
Dolores enlisted to escape small-town life in her home state of New Mexico.
Dolores wanted adventure, and the military provided that way out. When she enlisted in the Army, that took her not just across the country, but across the world. It brought her happiness, and she was able to finally find herself.
Dolores excelled in Army life and developed a sense of honor and duty by serving.
She did remarkably well there.
Military life gave her a sense of purpose and fulfillment.
Over time, however, the lengthy deployments made her feel like she was missing her chance at finding love.
Even though Dolores loved everything about the military, she felt isolated.
Being deployed was lonely for Dolores. She yearned companionship.
But it appeared Dolores's prayers were answered when she got to know a handsome Army sergeant named Malik Kearney.
He was one of the commanding officers, and immediately they connected.
He was strong and handsome and literally a man in uniform. He looked the part, he had the swagger, and he was the man.
It was an instant connection. There was chemistry. And Dolores felt all of a sudden that the isolation wasn't there.
Dolores was drawn to Malik's command and confidence.
This was someone who made life and death decisions on the turn of a dime, and that was attractive to Dolores.
They were able to share similar stories, similar childhood upbringing. Malik was her kindred spirit.
Dolores and Malik quickly became a couple and spent every free moment together.
They saw that same sense of wanting to belong in each other, and that pushed them together.
Dolores was intoxicated by that passion, that feeling of connection, emotional attachment, love.
They were intimate, they were friends, they were partners. He was everything she wanted in a man.
In 2009, Dolores was discharged from the Army and decided to pursue a nursing degree at a university in Florida. Malik remained enlisted overseas, but the couple stayed close.
They identified with one another, and their whole worlds were wrapped up in what seemed to be a perfect little package.
There were emails, there was Facebook chats. This thing was still fire, even across the globe.
Then in May of 2015, after years of separation, Malik was assigned to a South Carolina base, cutting the distance between the couple to 7 hours. Malik's military schedule made it difficult for him to leave town, but Dolores didn't let that prevent them from spending time together.
Dolores makes that drive from Florida every weekend.
Dolores was emotionally dependent and deeply in love with Malik.
Whatever Malik wanted or needed to be happy, Dolores was going to try and provide that for him.
But Dolores couldn't have imagined the dark path she'd ultimately travel to make Malik happy. August 25th, 2015. Authorities in Severn, Maryland, are on the scene of a vicious murder.
The first responders told the investigators because they found the victim laying on the floor with an infant in her arms.
It appears that the child was placed in the mother's arms after she was murdered.
Officers can't fathom how anyone could commit such a cold-hearted crime.
Who would leave a helpless infant in the arms of their dead mother?
When police dig deep into this investigation, they'll find a woman who would stop at nothing for the man she loved.
Someone that callous and uncaring had to be some kind of monster.
Was working toward a nursing degree in Florida after her military discharge. She hoped to build a bright future with her soulmate, Sergeant Malik Kearney.
Malik Kearney was in the U.S. Army. He was stationed at Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Despite the miles between her and Malik, they remained in close contact.
Dolores was driving every single weekend to be with Malik in South Carolina.
Dolores crossed state lines for her man every weekend. But before long, it would become clear that there was no line she wouldn't cross for him. August 25th, 2015, Severn, Maryland. Authorities have just come upon a gruesome discovery inside a home on the west side of town.
They found a baby in the arms of its mother who's been shot 3 times in the chest.
Fortunately, the infant appears to be unharmed.
One of the officers took the infant to a local hospital to be examined by a physician.
Now detectives are on the scene, trying to make sense of what happened to this young mother.
The officers initially talked to some neighbors who indicated that the victim was Carlin Ramirez.
The neighbors said they didn't hear any gunshots that night. But it appears Carlin was shot 3 times at point-blank range.
There were muzzle burns in all 3 gunshot locations, so the muzzle of the gun would have been placed up against the skin of Miss Ramirez.
The type of bullets and lack of shell casings suggest to investigators that the murder weapon is a revolver.
A ballistics examination allowed investigators to narrow down to a .357 caliber revolver.
The rest of the scene tells investigators that this is more than an ordinary robbery gone bad.
There didn't seem to be any signs of forced entry at all.
Someone likely had access to the premises.
To detectives, this murder feels personal. Did Carlin Ramirez know her killer? They hope speaking with Carlin's loved ones will provide a lead on a suspect. Later that day, they travel to the Ramirez home.
The parents of Carlin Ramirez were understandably devastated by the murder of their daughter. They had very quickly taken custody of the child found at the crime scene.
Detectives gently ask Carlin's parents if they can provide some background information on their daughter. They explain that the 24-year-old was a private in the U.S. Army.
Carlin Ramirez was a beloved person. Her co-workers enjoyed her and really respected her.
She's someone who, really everyone sort of gravitated to.
Investigators asked the family if Carlin had been having issues with anyone in the weeks leading up to her death.
They found pretty quickly that her family believed she was having marital issues with her newly estranged husband.
They identified her husband as Malik Kearney.
Carlin's parents say after Carlin and Malik had their child, the couple decided to tie the knot. But it wasn't long before Carlin realized she'd made a mistake.
They separated a matter of weeks after the wedding. There had been allegations of infidelity.
The news of marital issues made the police very suspicious of Malik. He could be a prime suspect in this case.
Detectives thank Carlin's family for their time and leave to track down Malik.
They traveled down to South Carolina to interview him.
The next day, investigators meet with Malik Kearney at Fort Jackson Army Base.
What can you tell us about her? She was alive.
Malik was very distraught over the loss of his wife. He was very forthcoming.
I don't know what happened. I still miss her. Well, she was murdered. Why? That's what we're hoping you can help us with.
He did share that the distance caused some problems between them, but they were working on the resolution.
Malik says he was on base at the time of the killing.
Malik told the investigators that he went to work at 8 o'clock, got off at 2, traveled home, where he watched Netflix and texted a few friends.
After I left work, I came straight back home.
He said that he had remained in his apartment alone, going to bed early, before returning to work the next day.
The grieving husband appears eager to cooperate with police.
Malik even agreed to a forensic investigation of his cell phone.
But there's one aspect of Malik's behavior that strikes investigators as strange.
Most people would likely immediately need to know what happened to my wife.
Malik Kearney never asked how his wife died. That was a red flag, among others, to the investigators.
Malik, again, is there any questions we didn't ask that you think that we should have asked before we leave? No.
With no evidence to hold Malik, investigators let him go.
They returned to Maryland and started gathering evidence, processing evidence.
As detectives begin looking into Malik's alibi, it seems to check out.
The detectives confirmed that. Malik went off duty at Fort Jackson on the afternoon of August 24th and reported for duty at approximately 8:30 the following morning.
When detectives review Malik's cell phone, it also appears to bolster his story.
He was at home, he was watching Netflix, and he had texted a few friends.
But investigators spot something of interest in his call history.
They noticed that there was one number and one name that appeared more than any other number or name in that phone.
That name is not Carlin.
That one person was Dolores Delgado.
Investigators know they need to find out more about Dolores's connection to Malik. What they uncover will turn the case on its head and reveal a woman whose #1 duty was to protect her man at any cost.
Dolores prided herself on being the keeper of Malik's secrets, but she was his secret.
Severn, Maryland. Army Sergeant Malik Kearney appears to have an airtight alibi for the night his estranged wife was murdered. But his cell phone history brings new questions to light.
There was one name that kept showing up in Malik's telephone more than any other: Dolores Delgado.
Mr. Kearney had said that he hadn't been dating anyone, but when investigators looked into Dolores Delgado, it appeared that they were dating.
When investigators contact Dolores, she agrees to make the drive from Florida to Maryland for an interview. But when Dolores arrives at the station, detectives notice something suspicious.
Shortly before the interview, Dolores Delgado was on the phone with someone.
As Dolores ends the call, one of the detectives catches a glimpse of the name Malik on her screen.
Her first reaction was to reach out to Malik Kearney, and investigators felt that was significant.
When detectives questioned Dolores, she admits that she's been in a relationship with Malik for the past 8 years.
Dolores said they'd been intimate, that they were friends and soulmates.
Malik married Carlin, but it didn't matter to Dolores.
Dolores tells detectives that Malik never loved Carlin and only married her to do right by the baby.
Dolores was unconcerned with Carlin. In her heart, Dolores knew Malik was still her man.
Detectives questioned Dolores about her whereabouts the night of the murder.
Dolores Delgado told investigators that on the evening of August 24th through the morning of August 25th, she was with Malik Kearney in his residence in Columbia, South Carolina.
They just spent the evening together. This, of course, is in direct conflict with what Malik had told investigators, that he was home alone.
Detectives asked Dolores if she or Malik left at any point that night, but she insists they were both at Malik's home throughout the entire evening.
She said that she was with Malik in South Carolina the night Carlin was killed.
They also asked Dolores if she or Malik owns a revolver, the suspected murder weapon.
Dolores Delgado told them that she really had no knowledge of firearms and was not well versed in anything pertaining to firearms.
That was suspect coming from a veteran of the U.S. Army who had served the tour of duty in Iraq. If anyone knows about guns, it would have been Dolores.
Investigators believe Dolores knows more than she's admitting, but have no incriminating evidence. They conclude the interview and immediately get a subpoena for Dolores's phone records.
When they looked at Dolores Delgado's cell phone data, they found that it was hitting off a cell phone tower right by Mr. Kearney's apartment. In fact, the same cell phone tower that his cell phone was hitting off of that night.
They do find startling inconsistencies between her phone and the data pulled from Malik's phone.
Obviously, there had been the communication between the two of them.
There were a number of messages and text messages and back and forth that they hadn't found on Malik Kearney's phone. That indicated to them that Malik Kearney had deleted some of the stuff off his phone before sharing it with investigators.
Investigators also find photos of Dolores's odometer in the text messages.
She's also tracking her mileage, taking photos of this and sending it to Malik.
That was a red flag as well to investigators. That's just not typical of what people send back and forth to one another.
They started to get a picture of what happened leading up to the crime.
It appears the couple planned a turnaround trip to kill Carlin Ramirez. And one of them stayed behind to create a digital alibi in South Carolina.
Malik Kearney and Dolores Delgado had put together a plan to travel from South Carolina up to Maryland, kill his wife, and get back in time for work.
But the vital question still remains. Who pulled the trigger?
Dolores had to be thinking that this wife, this distraction, this other woman was the reason that she couldn't be with her man.
Homicide detectives in Severn, Maryland believe Dolores Delgado and Malik Kearney conspired to murder Malik's estranged wife, Army Private Carlin Ramirez. An exhaustive search into Malik and Dolores's cell phone records revealed the two spent several weeks working out their plan and how to cover up their tracks.
At this point, police wanted to know which one pulled the trigger.
When detectives receive Dolores's financial records, they get the big break they've been looking for.
Detectives turned up that Dolores Delgado had purchased a Taurus .357 revolver.
Same caliber of gun that had killed Carlin Ramirez.
They also find another curious purchase.
They see in her financial information that she's recently purchased gas cans.
Authorities travel to Florida to execute a search warrant on Dolores's home. They don't find the murder weapon, but they do find another piece of damning evidence on Dolores's laptop.
They found searches how many gallons are needed for each mileage from one way from South Carolina to Maryland.
Investigators suspect the gas cans purchased on Dolores's card were part of a calculated effort to avoid leaving a trail behind.
It points investigators to the conclusion that somebody did not want to stop for gas along the way and risk the possibility of their image being captured on surveillance cameras.
At this point, detectives feel confident they have the evidence they need to charge Dolores Delgado and Malik Kearney with the murder of Carlin Ramirez.
The electronic evidence, the text messages, the lack of truthfulness on the part of Malik Kearney during the interview process all led us to conclude that Malik Kearney and Dolores Delgado acted together to cause the death of Carlin Ramirez.
In October 2016, after more than a year of investigation, a grand jury finally indicts Dolores and Malik.
Dolores Delgado was arrested at her apartment. She appeared surprised to see police there, but at the same time, in the back of her mind, I think she knew this was coming.
Malik Kearney was arrested on post and taken to the lockup at that fort.
But the question still remains. Who pulled the trigger? Prosecutors decide to approach Dolores first to see if she'll crack.
Prosecutors and investigators wanted to convince Dolores Delgado to cooperate, to tell us her side of the story, and ultimately testify against Malik Kearney.
The purpose of my conversation with Dolores Delgado was to acquaint her with some of the evidence that we had obtained against her.
They show her proof of purchase for 2 5-gallon gas cans and a .357 revolver.
Delgado continued to be in denial about any involvement in the murder of Carlin Ramirez.
Investigators knew that Dolores was lying. They had the evidence to prove it. They just needed her to give herself up.
They decide to present her with another alarming piece of evidence. Just days earlier, a surprise witness had come forward with a guilty conscience.
Police got a call from a man in Florida who said that shortly after the murder, he had helped Miss Delgado dispose of a firearm.
That was a bombshell discovery that kind of cracked this case wide open.
The unidentified witness told detectives that in September of 2015, he drove Dolores to a Florida waterway, where she disposed of a .357 revolver. When police divers searched the waterway shortly thereafter, they recovered the gun.
We matched the serial numbers to the firearm that Dolores Delgado had purchased in Florida before the murder. We determined the firearm killed Carlin Ramirez.
Armed with this new evidence, prosecutors informed Dolores that she faces the possibility of life in prison for her role in the murder, if she doesn't cooperate with them. But is it enough to persuade Dolores to talk? Or will she continue to stand by her man?
She loved this man and she wanted him.
Malik was her fantasy come true. Dolores would do anything for him.
Prosecutors are sitting down with 31-year-old Dolores Delgado, who is in custody for the murder of her boyfriend's estranged wife, Carlin Ramirez.
Her boyfriend, Malik Kearney, has just been arrested.
The evidence that we had did point to a plot that was hatched by both Malik Kearney and Dolores Delgado to murder Kearney's wife.
Prosecutors have just informed Dolores that police divers have recovered the murder weapon.
Upon examination by the lab, they were able to identify the serial number on the gun thrown into the river as the serial number of the gun purchased by Dolores Delgado from a local gun store in Florida.
Armed with this additional incriminating evidence, prosecutors tell Dolores it is in her best interest to cooperate.
We believe that she might be the weak link of the two.
Prosecutors offered Dolores a deal: confess and testify against Malik to avoid life in prison. With her back against the wall, Dolores finally agrees to come clean.
Dolores, feeling trapped, felt that it was time for her to take the plea deal and begin negotiations with the police.
Dolores tells prosecutors that after she was discharged from the Army and returned to the States, Malik began a relationship with Carlin. Meanwhile, Dolores and Malik continued their long-distance relationship overseas.
Dolores wanted to be the only one, but she believed that Malik and Carlin's romance was nothing in comparison to hers, and that eventually he would choose her.
Dolores says that in April of 2015, Malik told her Carlin was pregnant and that they were going to get married. But Dolores still didn't let that scare her away.
Ms. Delgado did not believe Carlin Ramirez was a threat. Kearney had been with other women and still came back to Dolores Delgado.
According to Dolores, when Malik and Carlin's marriage imploded after just a few weeks, he asked her for her help.
Malik saw Dolores as a very reliable person. She would go through great lengths to make Malik happy.
She told us that Malik Kearney had worked on a plan to kill his wife without being detected.
Dolores tells investigators she knew it was wrong, but she couldn't deny her man anything.
She couldn't say no to Malik Kearney.
Dolores said that her love for Malik was overwhelming. It was all-encompassing.
Dolores saw this as a mission and was detached, and all she knew is to protect her man and support him.
Dolores reveals how she helped Malik carefully plan the murder, charting the route to Maryland and tracking the mileage in her car.
She was willing to track mileage, photograph the mileage at a half tank, at a full tank, at a quarter tank, to get an exact amount of how much gas is needed, how long the drive is.
Dolores also admits to purchasing gas cans that Malik could take on the road.
Malik wouldn't have to stop at a gas station. That meant that cameras wouldn't see him.
The day of the murder, Dolores gave Malik the final essentials he needed to carry out the plan.
She provided Malik Kearney with her firearm and ammunition. She provided him with her car so he could use that car to get up to Maryland without being detected.
Yet, for investigators, it doesn't answer the question, why murder? Carlin Ramirez was already filing for a divorce from Malik Kearney.
It seems in this situation, a reasonable person would have just gotten a divorce.
Dolores explains that for Malik, it was all about pride.
Malik was used to being in charge in his relationships. He held the power.
He was used to getting what he wanted, but he couldn't have Carlin Ramirez, and that's why he killed her.
Dolores says when Malik arrived at Carlin's apartment, he used his key to enter.
Mr. Kearney planned to leave no trace behind.
Once he shot Carlin 3 times, he reached for his daughter and placed her into Carlin's arms.
To have a child laying in that crime scene. In my career, I'd never seen anything like that before. It was horrible.
Dolores said that they discussed the fact that he wanted to kill Carlin Ramirez, where the next day was a work day, that when Ramirez failed to show up at post, someone would look for her and find the baby.
Malik left his child without a mother. It was very selfish.
As he fled the crime scene, Malik left the patio door open to make it look like a robbery. He then made the 500-mile trip back to South Carolina, where Dolores was waiting.
Dolores sat in Malik's apartment on his couch with his phone. She sent text messages. She sat and watched movies and waited patiently. When Malik returned to South Carolina, Dolores burned his clothes. She threw the murder weapon into the water. Dolores had done everything for her man.
Prosecutors have substantial evidence against Malik, but Dolores' statement puts the gun in his hands.
Malik pulled the trigger and she helped him.
Dolores certainly indicated that she regretted what had happened to Carlin Ramirez.
But when Malik contacts Dolores from jail, will she fall for him one more time and wreck the state's case?
Malik had her under some kind of spell, but she didn't even realize it.
October 2016. In Severn, Maryland, Dolores Delgado has admitted to her role in Carlin Ramirez's death.
Dolores felt that she needed to help Malik murder Carlin because that's what Malik wanted. She was willing to do anything to make him happy.
In exchange for a lighter sentence, Dolores has agreed to testify against Malik at trial. But when Malik begins writing Dolores letters from jail, prosecutors worry that he could persuade her to recant.
Kearney wrote to Delgado on a number of occasions saying, "Just trust me. Don't trust your lawyer. Don't trust anybody but me." Malik Kearney still sought to maintain his hold over Dolores Delgado.
Investigators wonder, is she going to try and save herself, or is she going to try and protect her man?
On July 16th, 2018, 37-year-old Malik Kearney stands trial for murdering his estranged wife, Carlin Ramirez.
Malik Kearney entered pleas of not guilty.
The prosecution describes how two once honorable soldiers came up with a diabolical plan to murder Carlin Ramirez.
Dolores Delgado provided the alibi, provided the gun, the ammunition, and her car. But Malik Kearney pulled the trigger. They were partners in crime.
Prosecutors submit the murder weapon, a .357 revolver, into evidence. They argue that Malik's actions represent one of the most cold-hearted crimes they've ever seen.
It was particularly egregious by virtue of the fact that the mother was killed and her infant daughter placed in her dead arms.
But Malik's defense attorneys maintain their client's innocence.
The defense was essentially that Malik Kearney had nothing to do with the murder.
When Dolores takes the stand, everyone is wondering, will she remain the state's star witness or protect her man like he asked her to in the letters? Fortunately, as Dolores begins her testimony, the prosecution is able to breathe a sigh of relief.
Delgado testified that she went along with what Malik Kearney wanted because that's what she always did.
Dolores comes clean. She admits to plotting every detail along the way.
Dolores was willing to purchase gas, track mileage, purchase a gun, ammunition, provide Malik with an alibi. All of these things just so she could continue to feel safe and feel loved and protected.
In the end, the jury returns a quick verdict.
The jury found Malik Kearney guilty on all counts.
He is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder of Carlin Ramirez.
The Ramirez family were relieved to have this behind them and have some justice for the murder of their daughter.
Their best memory of their daughter Carlin is in their granddaughter.
Carlin's family is raising the daughter and doing the best they can, but it's just not going to be the same as it would have been with her mother there.
Dolores Delgado pleads guilty on all counts and is sentenced to 17 years in prison.
Dolores Delgado was looking for love in all the wrong places. And boy, did she find love with the wrong man.
Dolores was deeply connected to Malik. And that deep bond sort of causes love to become blind to a certain extent. But Malik saw Dolores as a person he could easily manipulate.
Dolores was in all the way. She wanted what he wanted, and even if he wanted another woman dead, she was willing to do whatever it took for her man.
They say all is fair in love and war. And that may be true. But when you allow your lover to become the commanding officer of your life, and do whatever you can to obey his orders.
4th, 2021, sheriffs in Orange County, Florida, get a call from a worried mother. She says her daughter, 19-year-old college student Mia Marcano, is missing.
Mia was scheduled to fly home to Fort Lauderdale to see family for the weekend. The last her family had heard from her, Mia was getting off of work and headed home to pack the rest of her things and wait for the Uber to head to the airport.
Mia's plane left Orlando at 8:50 p.m., but when it landed in Fort Lauderdale, she wasn't on it.
My son texted me, and he said that, Dad, we can't find Mia. I said, what do you mean you can't find Mia? And he told me that, he's been calling her, and everybody's been calling her, and her phone is just going to voicemail.
A young 19-year-old not ever far from her phone, right? It's unusual that she's not answering, so family are now frantic, wondering where is she?
I sent her a text message through WhatsApp, and on WhatsApp you can see if a message was delivered or, if it was read or anything like that. And the message that I sent was not going through. So I automatically knew that something was wrong.
Mia Marcano was born on April 26, 2002. She was the second child of South Florida DJ Marlon Marcano and his wife Ema Scarborough.
Holding my baby girl for the first time was one of the greatest feelings ever in life. I mean, the bond from day one was just unbreakable. She grew up in the city of Pembroke Pines. That's where she did her elementary, middle school. After her mom and I got divorced, her mom moved back to the Virgin Islands. And, certain summers, the kids will go down there, spend a few months. Mia did a couple semesters of schooling over there. But then she came back here to Florida and she finished up high school.
Mia loved many things. She liked to model, dance, cheerlead. She enjoyed music, hip-hop, soca, calypso, which made sense because her dad was a really well-known DJ. And so music was an integral part of her life.
She grew up to be, a child of love that would just light up any room that she walked into.
But like many students her age, Mia's high school experience was disrupted by COVID-19.
When we were in the heart of COVID, so for Mia's senior year, she missed out on prom, she missed out on the senior trip, and she missed out on graduation. So after all that hard work, You don't even get to walk and celebrate. At the end was, you know, it played a toll on her.
Mia hoped college would be different. But the pandemic continued through her freshman year.
She had an apartment, and she shared it with 3 other roommates at that time. And it was a whole semester went by, and she didn't even see the campus of school. Everything was done online.
When the campus reopened in the fall of 2021, Mia decided to make a few changes.
Initially, her goal was to do nursing, but then she didn't want to go through all the extra long years of nursing, so she switched over to sports medicine.
Instead of getting a dorm, Mia decided to get an apartment off campus where she also worked in the leasing office to help pay for her studies because she was able to get a discount on rent.
She handled a lot of the phone calls. She did have to go and do apartment checks when it came to making sure the apartments were ready for the new tenants that were moving in, but she did more office work.
By September 2021, Mia had settled into her new routine and was looking forward to the new school year. But now Mia has suddenly vanished, and her family is afraid something has happened to her.
Her mom, who is Emma, and she's in the Virgin Islands, she actually calls the Orange County Sheriff's Office, and she requests what we call a welfare check because she hasn't heard from her daughter.
At 10:07 p.m., an Orange County Sheriff's deputy arrives at Mia's apartment in Orlando. The family had already called Mia's roommate to meet the deputy there.
Her mother, Emma, tells the deputy, please stand by because her roommate is leaving work, coming by the apartment, and she'll get you inside. The roommate shows up. They actually go inside the apartment, but when they get to her room, the door's locked.
Mia's roommate says that's not unusual. She always locks her door when she goes home for holidays. Luckily, Mia's bedroom has a window they can get to from the back of the apartment.
They were able to look inside the window, and the police officer said that it looked like a normal teen's room.
However, something seems out of place.
The deputy notices that the window for her bedroom, which is not locked, and he can actually push it open into the room. The roommate acknowledged that that was extremely unusual because her father, when she moved in, had put locks on all the windows, and these aren't just normal locks, they're very difficult to remove.
I just wanted the lock so that the window would not be able to go up past a certain height. So she can open the window if she wanted fresh air, but nobody could stick their head through the window.
Those locks are now broken.
The roommate's talking with family members, and so they suggest that she enters the room through the window. The roommate checks with the deputy, gets his authorization to do so, because at this point, we really don't have a crime that's being investigated. It's simply a welfare check on someone. So the roommate crawls through the window with the assistance from the deputy.
When Mia's roommate gets inside, she makes another discovery.
She told us on the phone that what she saw, which was the bookshelf that she had in her room jammed up against the bedroom door. So automatically that told me that if her door is jammed, there's no way that she left through that door. She had to leave through the window.
The question is why. After moving the bookcase, Mia's roommate helps the deputy search the room for more clues.
The bed's, not made up, but they don't really notice anything initially out of the ordinary, but eventually they do find clothes that are in a backpack, and it appeared to be the clothes that she was going to take with her to the plane, so they were there. And also the teddy bear that she normally doesn't leave without if she goes anywhere.
That was something that was very important to Mia. They knew that something was not right when they saw the teddy bear.
The deputy files a missing person report. adding Mia's name to the national database. But for now, they cannot start a formal investigation.
We don't really have enough information, at least in my opinion, as a former law enforcement officer, to establish that a crime has been committed, although there are some red flags, associated with this.
Mia's loved ones don't agree, so they decide to take matters into their own hands.
Family members know another family member. They know the signs.
And it was like, we need to activate now. We just jumped in the car and took off to Orlando.
The family of missing 19-year-old Mia Marcano is worried about her disappearance. So they make a late-night drive from Fort Lauderdale to Orlando, Florida, to conduct their own investigation.
We got to Orlando roughly, I would say 2:45, 3 a.m. in the morning. I didn't have a key to the apartment, but I was in contact with her roommates, and as soon as I got there, I called her, and she came and opened the apartment for me. We went into the apartment with gloves on because we knew not to touch anything.
When they went into Mia's room to look around, they knew immediately that something was not right because Mia was an extremely neat person. It didn't matter where Mia was gone, the time of the day. When she left, her bed was always made. Her room was always neat.
We noticed, her jewelry was broken on the floor. Her bed was shifted.
The type of jewelry that it was very difficult to break. It was not something that would just fall on the floor and break. They knew that it must have been some type of struggle. They also saw a box cutter. That was another sign. They knew Mia did not own a box cutter.
That was not hers. Mia would not, that would not be her weapon of choice.
The family spots something else the police officer missed during the welfare check. A blood stain on Mia's pillow.
The blood was in plain eyesight, but we couldn't determine if it was fresh or how long it was there.
They're becoming convinced that someone has abducted Mia. But she doesn't have any enemies they know about.
We were talking and, we're trying to find out, who does she have any problems with? Has she been complaining about anything or anybody? And her roommate mentioned that the only person that she can think about was this guy named Armando.
The man Mia's roommate is referring to is Armando Caballero, a 27-year-old maintenance worker at the apartment complex.
With her bubbly personality, Mia had no difficulty making friends at work, and she caught the eye of one of her coworkers, Armando Caballero. Initially, Mia and Armando exchanged text messages. They were friendly, but over time, Armando became a little more insistent than Mia would have liked.
Mia's roommate shows them copies of the texts Mia had forwarded to her. And some of them are quite alarming.
There was a time when some of the text messages that he was sending her got a little too personal, maybe even a little offensive to her. One very inappropriate text that he sent her that had sexual overtones in it that seemed to really upset her.
The roommate says Mia politely turned Armando down, but that didn't seem to stop him.
There were some instances of him attempting to send her money that she didn't ask for and did not want.
She would reject the money and send it back to him, and he would in turn send it back to her. His whole rationale that he told her for doing that is that he had saved that money, and I believe it was about $600 to take her out and wine and dine her with. But when she was resistant to his advances, he said, go ahead and use it for whatever you need to use it for. There's some guys that just simply, they're infatuated. They don't want to take no for an answer. And they'll do whatever is in their wheelhouse or what's available to them or what's worked before.
After that, Mia made it clear she wanted Armando to leave her alone. But now her loved ones can't help but wonder if he's the reason she's disappeared.
There's a concept in psychology called rejection sensitivity, right? To where people who experience rejection aren't able to have a typical threshold for accepting what that means. This could be the case with Armando as well, where his rejection sensitivity is really low, and so he's not able to interpret the social cues that he's getting from Mia in an appropriate way. He cannot get over the thought that he is being rejected by this person who he has claimed to be in love with. Once it got to the point where she indicated to him that she was no longer interested in his advances, and we see that he was not taking no for an answer, that is where we get to the point where something more sinister is at play.
Mia Marcano has been missing for less than 24 hours. But the more her family learns, the more they think she's been abducted. So around 4 a.m., they ask police to look at the new evidence they found in Mia's apartment.
We called them back because when we got there, I mean, everything was plain as day that my daughter's in trouble.
We have an Orange County Sheriff's deputy there, and we have a ton of family members there, including her father. So, father points out to the deputy that the bed frame has been moved. It's not saying where the impressions are on the carpet. There's a yellow box cutter. The deputy looks at it. There does not appear to be any traces of blood on it. There's a pillowcase on the bed with a drop of blood, but it doesn't look fresh.
To the deputy, it seems less like evidence of foul play than of a family desperate to find answers.
At this point, we really don't know what's happened to her. We just don't know if she's been abducted or maybe she's doing something of her own free will. There's just a lot of possibility at this point in time. I can tell you that in missing persons investigations, there is no shortage of individuals that want to get involved, normally for the right reasons. It shows that they love and they care, which I think is great. But it can reach the point where it can become distracting.
They're trying to tell me that, well, no, your daughter's not in trouble. It's a party weekend. She's probably out with her friends. And, I mean, I know my daughter. If my daughter wants to go party with her friends, she doesn't have to sneak out her window.
The deputy tells Mia's father he'll add the information to her case file. But there's nothing more he can do for now. Before he leaves, however, a security guard arrives to tell them about a suspicious vehicle in the parking lot.
We automatically just, went outside. And I seen him sitting down in the car. He asked if we were looking for Mia. And my sister asked, well, who are you? And he said his name is Armando.
It's the maintenance worker Mia's roommate told them about, Armando Caballero. But why is he lurking outside Mia's apartment in the middle of the night?
Deputy asked him why he's there. Now, at this time, Armando's talking on the phone to somebody the whole time the deputy's trying to interact with him.
He said he was talking to his coworker, and she told him that Mia was missing. And he was concerned, so he decided to come by and check, because he was an on-call maintenance guy that night.
It seems a reasonable explanation at first, but when the family confronts him, he gets defensive.
As of right now, you have sent obsessive texts to Mia. We have all seen the texts. You talked about giving her your life savings. You cash out her money, and you claim that you weren't in touch. It's on text.
I never
said that. As a matter of fact, we're going to get a police report to pull your phone records if that's the case. There's evidence of obsession, of So you're fascinated with
It's
Mia.
not only from my side, so don't try to make this.
No one's saying that. It takes
She's
two.
not here to defend
There's-
herself right now,
obviously,
so we
she's
gotta talk to
missing. So we're talking to you, who've been going back and forth
I
on
understand
text.
that. That is your family. But until we figure out what's going on, just don't beat me up.
To defuse the situation, the deputy separates the parties and talks to Armando alone. Armando admits he wanted to date Mia, but says he backed off when she turned him down.
How would you describe your relationship with her?
It was somewhat flirtatious at first, but then honestly, it was just on some friendship.
Okay.
According to Armando, they were still friends. The last time he saw her was at work around 3 p.m.
The whole time the deputy is talking to Armando, he's on the phone talking to somebody. So eventually, Armando puts the phone on speaker mode so that the deputy can talk to the individual. And the female ended up confirming this to the deputy while she was on speakerphone. And the female actually worked in the same office as her supervisor, actually, and they were friends as well.
Despite the family's suspicions, it seems Armando might be telling the truth. After all, if he had harmed Mia, why would he come back to offer help? But before the night is over, the case takes another unexpected turn.
The security guard said that when he was walking around, he heard some noises in one of the storage units. So we asked if they can, seeing that Armando, he has access to it, well, can he go open the unit so that we can make sure, you know, that Mia's not in there.
The family of missing college student Mia Marcano have confronted the man they think is connected to her disappearance. 27-year-old maintenance man, Armando Caballero. Strange noises coming from one of the apartment storage units makes them wonder if he stashed her inside.
Armando and the security guard went to the storage unit and they came back and said it was cleared.
The family remains convinced Armando knows more than he's saying. But with no evidence to hold him, at 6:29 a.m., the deputy tells Armando he's free to go. Mia's father isn't happy about it.
The deputy took Armando's information, his name, his address, phone number, and told him to have a good night. I mean, if I'm driving and I get pulled over for a routine traffic stop, you'll search my vehicle, you'll take me out of the car, you'll do the whole nine, but my daughter's missing and a guy, a person of interest is right in front of you and you do nothing.
The deputy tells the family to contact the sheriff's office if they hear from Mia. But as far as her loved ones are concerned, the investigation into Armando Caballero is just getting started.
Next, the family kind of takes over the investigation for the cops.
I don't think anybody's going to ever put in the efforts and the attention that a family member will put in.
While some family members distribute flyers around town, others drive to nearby Castleberry to spy on Armando.
They were all ladies. They had already gotten Armando's address and everything from when he was there that night, so they decided to do their little investigation on their own and drove over to his complex. I didn't know that they were going because that's not something that the guys in the family would send the ladies out to go do by themselves.
Hoping to prove his involvement, the women record their observations.
Why haven't they gone into his apartment? Why didn't they search him?
Not long into their stakeout, they get exactly what they were hoping for.
They see Armando taking items out of his car and into his apartment. And one item of interest was a pink blanket.
The blanket.
Oh my God, that is my blanket.
My mother was the one who purchased that particular blanket for Mia.
They contact the police. But now all of a sudden, they're no longer in the Orlando area, they're in Seminole County, and they have to call the Castleberry Police Department.
Before Castleberry police can get there, however, Armando leaves. The women had called other loved ones who decide to follow him themselves.
While I was on my way to his house, I saw him as he was leaving, and I started to tail him. And he drove to another friend's house. And when they pulled into that friend's house, that's when we blocked them in. And we came out the car and approached him again and told him, you know, the family was just there. We saw the blanket, everything. He told us that he didn't know what we were talking about. He was saying that he has nothing to do with Mia and he doesn't know where Mia is and, you know, why we harassing him is basically what he's saying.
The family calls Castleberry PD. They respond.
They said that they couldn't go inside because they didn't have any warrants or anything like that. But if he's allowing someone to go inside, they're willing to go inside.
Armando says he has nothing to hide and surprises everyone by agreeing to let one of Mia's friends search his home instead.
The friend went inside, did a search, and the blanket was gone. In my mind, I already knew that we were not going to find the blanket there because his roommate was already at the house. He already knew that by then we were on to him.
The first 48 hours are the most important in any missing persons case. And Mia Marcano's family is determined to find her before it's too late. Unfortunately, their only suspect, Armando Caballero, is staying one step ahead of them.
At that point in time, I was just looking for the answer. And if he was the person that had her, I just wanted to find where Mia was. I felt like she was in danger.
What they need is solid evidence to convince police to take them seriously. So they ask Mia's property manager for security camera footage from the day she disappeared.
The only place that there were security cameras were primarily at the front office. There were no surveillance cameras throughout the apartment complex.
Fortunately, there are other ways to track employees' movements.
Everything in the apartment complex is pretty much controlled by key fobs.
The key fob contains chips with unique codes, which are recorded whenever they're used. And those records give Mia's loved ones a much clearer picture of what happened the day she disappeared.
When Mia gets off at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, about 5:06, she ends up entering her apartment. But the door doesn't lock, the double doesn't lock on it until about 5:12. So there's about 6 minutes of delay before that happens.
Stranger still, a different key fob gained access to her apartment half an hour earlier at 4:34 p.m. And that key fob belongs to the building's maintenance man, Armando Caballero.
Because Armando's a maintenance worker, he has access to key fobs. And on an emergency basis for like overnight calls and stuff, he has access to key fobs in the building that will get him pretty much anywhere he wants to go.
That allowed him access into every apartment. We were in disbelief to believe that a person would have unfettered access into a tenant's apartments.
Within the past week, he had to fix a leak that was in her apartment, but there's no current work order. He had no business being there.
There's no record of anyone opening the front door after 5 p.m. But that door isn't the only way in and out of the apartment.
Mia's window was located in her bedroom. That was like at the back of the complex. For someone like a maintenance employee who's there every single day, he knows the blind spots throughout this apartment complex. He knows where he can kidnap someone and go unnoticed.
Mia's family immediately takes this new evidence to Orange County Police. This time, authorities open an investigation and review all the evidence.
The detectives, in piecing everything together, were able to determine that Armando made it to her apartment. He called in a fake maintenance request, waited for her to come into the apartment when she got off of work, which she did. They believed that once she entered, that there was a fight and a struggle, which would explain some of the jewelry on the floor, some of it broken, the bed frame being displaced, that he bound her, the window that was open, that the lock had been taken off, that Dad had put on, faced a back area of the complex that wasn't frequented by people. So it would have been relatively easy for him to get her out of that window without people watching him do that.
It's enough for detectives to obtain an arrest warrant, but not for kidnapping or murder yet.
When the judge signs this arrest warrant for burglary, everybody's aware of what the potential this could really become. We very well may not just be talking about a burglary, we maybe ended up talking about a homicide.
But when police get to Armando's apartment, he isn't there. His roommate says he left earlier that day and didn't say where he was going.
At this point, Armando's on the run. He knows that the cops are looking for him, they've got an arrest warrant for him, and he's off the grid, they can't find him. Now, the cops are also looking, for her. They have cut warrants for cell phone data for both Armando and from her. They've even gotten to the point to where they've pulled GPS data for Armando's vehicle, trying to pinpoint maybe, where he went.
Orange County Police put out a statewide alert for Armando, and the search begins. Several hours later, police in nearby Seminole County respond to an emergency call at another apartment complex.
They tell the cops to come out because they found a body inside.
Is it Mia?
The cops show up, building's locked when it's normally unlocked. They gotta break the lock, get inside, and they have a male who has hung himself, and it ended up being Armando.
His cowardly decision feels like a final attack on Mia and those who love her.
It has just become so much harder for us to find Mia. That's all that was running through my mind. How are we gonna find Mia if the person's responsible for her disappearance is no longer here?
I'm just trying to, rationalize and think that maybe that's why he decided to take the easy way out and commit suicide, because he knew that we were onto him and there was nowhere to go. For me, I still had hopes that Mia was still alive.
We knew we had to move extremely fast because Mia was missing on September 24th. It's now September 27th. And we're like, how long could she go without water? How long could she go without food? We're calculating all of this, and we know that there is a sense of urgency, and we have to find Mia right now.
The search for Mia Marcano has been derailed after the prime suspect in her disappearance, Armando Caballero, killed himself. But Mia's loved ones aren't about to give up now. If she's still alive, she might not be for long.
After it was announced that Armando Caballero had committed suicide, our search for Mia intensified, and the family's search for Mia intensified. You did not hear anyone saying, we have to return to work in 2 or 3 days. What I heard was that we are not leaving Orlando, Florida until we find Mia. It doesn't matter how long it takes. This is our home, and we're gonna all be in this until we find Mia.
The family took it upon themselves to actually privately hire a canine to assist in trying to find her, because remember, we're frantically trying to find, where she is.
Search and Rescue Central Florida is a volunteer organization of canine handlers and canines. It's all about closure for us, and it's all about bringing closure for the families and also certainly for law enforcement. But it's basically trying to find a needle in a haystack in many cases.
By October 2nd, Mia has been missing for a week. But her family holds out hope as searches continue.
Every morning I would call the detectives and try to get them to give me a briefing as to where they are in the investigation, did they find anything, any new leads. And that particular Saturday morning, I think I called and no one answered. But then when the detective called me back, he said, "How soon can you get here?" When I pulled up to the sheriff's office, they told me to drive around to the back. I come out the car, and the detective comes up to me and he says, "We got to tell you that the search party is out there today, and they found the body, and they think that the body that they found is that of my daughter." My knees buckled on me.
Detectives explain that earlier that morning, a search party combing the woods near an apartment complex where Armando used to work had made the heart-wrenching discovery.
You could tell that her hands had been bound behind her back with tape. Her feet had been bound. The tape was very similar, if not identical, to the tape that law enforcement found that Armando had in his possession and that he had access to through his work.
Some believe he killed her to pay her back for turning him down. As police dig further into Armando's background, they discover this wasn't the first time he sought revenge for being rejected.
Armando Caballero had actually had an incident with another tenant at an apartment complex that he allegedly worked at. He offered this young lady out on a date, and when she refused to go out on a date with him, he threw weights through her window. So this was a guy who was a predator. This was a guy who we believe that he was getting jobs at apartment complexes just so he would just have the opportunity to just prey on young women.
On October 13th, 2021, the Marcano family lays Mia to rest.
I think the notion of closure with something like this is really hard to try and articulate in words. I understand that there was a really beautiful service for Mia, and she was surrounded by family and friends who loved her. But with Armando dying by suicide and the many unanswered questions that are left, to me, the notion of closure really isn't possible at this point.
So you tried to have a service for a princess, and I'm hoping she's happy with what we did.
To preserve Mia's legacy and to protect other young women like her, the Marcanos lobby for a new state law to stop predators like Armando Caballero from abusing their positions, which is passed in August 2022.
Mia's law is set in place for tenant safety. That's the main issue. And to, again, prevent other families from having to go through what we went through.
Mia's Law makes it a requirement that in order to enter a tenant's apartment, no longer do you have to give 12-hour notice, you have to give 24-hour notice. There's also has to be a background check, an extensive background check conducted on the employee before they are hired. Also, it was very important for the family to create a foundation. And what the foundation is about is to assist families of missing persons. Because this is something that you're not prepared to handle. So having someone who's been through it, giving you the advice, telling you the resources to look for, has been very beneficial to many of the families.